everyone. What happens when you take some of the most powerful voices of the music industry and you basically have them speak out against some of the world's darkest secrets? When basically their lyrics and interviews don't sound like they're talking about their fame, wealth, fortunes, but they start sounding like coded warnings for people. Well, that is what I'm going to be talking about tonight, as I'm going to be delving into Bob Marley and Prince, and basically did Chemtrails and the CIA kill these two music icons? And this is the Conspiracy Nexus episode 31. I'm Ray, aka Paranormal Reports. Please come in, join me, engage with me if you feel different or you feel like this is something you've suspected. Also, like, subscribe, turn the notification bell on, all that good stuff, and let's get going, shall we? So, like I'm gonna say here, these are just conspiracies, and obviously, but if there's some truth to them, then it's better than no truth at all, isn't it? Right. So, we're going to talk about the Jamaican icon known as Bob Marley first. And basically, he was more than a reggae star. Obviously, we know about his hits like Get Up, Stand Up to Redemption. Get Up, Stand Up to Redemption song. Buffalo Soldier, where Three Little Birds, like, you know. But basically, he was a voice of the voiceless in the 1970s, especially in Jamaica, because he was calling out for systemic injustice. Sorry, everyone. Colonial oppression, spiritual manipulation. Basically, Marley was stood at a crossroads between music and politics because the island of Jamaica in the 1970s was teetering on the edge of civil unrest. Violence was going on across the country. Politics was getting watched from the US because the US didn't know where they needed to intervene. But basically, he started a movement, Bob Marley, that basically scared these powerful people in office because he had the ability to draw crowds. Like any good musician. Like tonight, I presume in Cardiff, in before Oasis's first concert tour since 2009. There's going to probably be loads of people in Cardiff tonight. But back in the 70s, Bob Marley was one of these people that you could just know that he was basically standing for the right things. He inspired resistance. He was he used to be, could bridge divides between political enemies. But obviously that's not a good thing for some people because they see it as shit. There's this person's getting too much power. We're gonna have to try and do something. And the first thing that could have been said, that could have been something the CIA could have done, if you don't know, basically on December the 3rd, 1976, this happened. Bob Marley was shot in the chest and arm. His wife Rita was shot in the head, but she's luckily survived. And his manager Don Taylor basically was shot multiple times in the legs and in the torso. And I think I read there was one that also shot him in. There was one bullet that also shot him in the groin. And Bob's and Rita's arm was basically riddled with bullets. So basically, this shooting happened on December the 3rd, 1976, as I said, but it happened 2 days before Bob Marley was scheduled to go on stage to do a Smile Jamaica peace concert to try and bring peace to the country. And 7 gunmen broke in and thought, fuck it, we'll try and take our shot at you and that. But and obviously the attack was then blamed on political factions. But obviously, Bob Marley defied odds. Bob Marley decided, no, I'm not going to let these bastards win. I'm going to get on stage here 2 days later with these bullet wounds and say, I'm here for the people, I'm a man of the people, power to the people, power to Jamaica, and I'm going to still perform. And he walked on stage and performed for Hannah, and many of the Jamaicans saw it as heroic. Like saw Bob Marley standing there and going, and he got basically saying, nothing's going to bring me down. I'm basically your soldier. I'm basically your warrior for this moment. And basically, the powerful people didn't like it. So who ordered it? There's theories that have gone on for years that have said that it's put down to the political side of Jamaica, that someone on the political side of Jamaica wanted him silenced because he was giving the people a voice and that. But the spokesperson said that declassified CIA documents have now been leaked over the last few years, and America had a hand in surveillance operations across Jamaica. They had extensive surveillance operations, but they also had a keen interest in Bob Marley and his associates, like his manager, the Whalers, stuff like that. So, was it local politics that done this assassination attempt, or was it foreign intervention from the United States? Basically saying, shit, Bob Marley, we can't have him voicing too much, you know. And the weird thing is, if he had died that day in 1996, we wouldn't have been talking about him as poignant as it now. We would say, oh, he died due to street violence, and he wouldn't have spoke out a lot more. But basically, this kind of fueled in the next series of questioning, because the next two people I'm going to show you are kind of my in Bob's demise in the end. First things first, I'm going to show you this fella. For all of you that don't know who this fella is, this is a former director of the CIA, William Colby, and his name is very poignant, in fact, with Bob Marley, because I'll show you why in a minute. But yeah, William was a CIA director at Langley, not in their headquarters in Langley, Virginia. And if you don't know what, right, sorry for that noise, everyone. Well, me, look, this is the CIA building in Langley, Virginia. Look, which is kind of crazy, but yeah, going back, this fella is Cole Colby, and you're going to be wondering, Colby? What do you mean another Colby? Yeah, sorry about that. That's my opera noise. So forgive me, everyone. That's not me just shutting down my computer. But yeah, William is Cole's dad. Cole obviously and brought out a film called Man That No One Knew about his dad. Now, this is where it kind of gets kind of crazy. I did mention that Cole was the CIA director, didn't I? Because his son Cole kind of became a bit done something in 1977 that was kind of crazy. Basically, a year after the assassination attempt in 1977, after he survived his assassination attempt, Bob Marley, in 1977, Cole here visited Bob Marley at his home, and as he was allegedly posing as a journalist, and he brought Marley a nice like a present as a you know, and you'd think, oh, what kind of present would be of interest, and what kind of because you know, and a CIA dad, obviously, you would think, right, so what's he going to bring for Bob Marley? He bought a pair of boots. Yeah, you'd think, okay, a pair of boots, that's not nothing. because obviously a pair of boots could be like Bob could have used them on stage, could have used them going for walks. So you think, okay, but these boots apparently, when Bob tried them on, Bob immediately cried out in pain because he said that something had pricked his toe, and not long after doctors diagnosed him with a actual lentiginous melanoma, which was a cancer that was found in the very same toe, and is a rare and aggressive form of cancer, by the way, everyone. Particularly in someone young and healthy like Bob. And basically, the theory goes that Cole got his boots from his dad, William. Yes, William. I'm going to just show you William again now. From William. And basically, they were laced with a carcinogenic agent. So, obviously, the official story calls it unfortunate, but it seems kind of strange that these boots kind of pricked Bob and that this cancer developed because I'll keep William on the screen for a minute, everyone. But actual lentiginous melanoma is rare. We know that. I just said it's rare. But it usually affects people with darker skin and occurs on the palms of your hands, soles of feet, or under nails. And it spreads quickly. And in Marley's case, it was no exception because this cancer metastasized from his toe to his brain and lungs in less than 4 years. Because he was diagnosed in 1927. And in 1981, we lost Bob Marley. So doctors basically urged Bob to amputate his toe, but because of his but due to his religious reasons tied to the Rastafarian beliefs, Bob said, "No, I don't want to amputate my toe." So that decision, some have said down the years that could have cost him and sealed his fate. But others argue that this cancer aggression shows biochemical manipulation. So basically, it's an historical fact to this day that the CIA, along with other agencies in the world, basically manipulated and experimented with slow-acting poisons, biological agents during the Cold War. So could Bob have been a test case, they're saying, or was he targeted on purpose because of the voice he was saying he was using to get influence? It's kind of crazy when you think about it. And basically, yeah, let me know what you think, everyone, on that. But yeah, now going back to Jamaica as a whole, the CIA in the 70s was invested in Jamaica heavily. Basically, there's that the US was deeply concerned about the Prime Minister Michael Manley's socialist leanings, and he had close ties to the Cuban president Fidel Castro. And Bob Marley was, of course, a symbol of unity and like voice for the voiceless, basically. But he was unaffiliated with politics, but he was incredibly influential. So basically, Marley's popularity among both political parties at the time and the Jamaican public made him dangerous, not just to the people in Jamaica, but the people out of Jamaica. So they were basically, some people were like, everyone would want to keep him on a leash, basically, and under the control. Because if anything went wrong, then Marley's message started spreading globally, then it'd be a rise up against stuff, and then we'd have an uprising and stuff. So basically, in these final months, Bob's health deteriorated rapidly. He was taken to clinics in the US, went to Germany for the clinics, and when in Germany, he sought unconventional treatment from the clinic of Dr. Joseph Izzels, known for his alternative like cancer therapy. But some call it a last-ditch effort for Bob because he didn't trust medicine. Like, he didn't trust conventional medicine, like me, you, everyone else. He didn't trust it. And obviously, in May 1981, the sad thing happened that shocked the world. A 36-year-old Bob Marley passed away in Miami when he was due to go back to Jamaica And the original cause of death was brain cancer stemming from the original melanoma. But people said, why was there so little scrutiny in the media? Why did the world accept this story so easily, Who benefits from the sudden death of a global icon for peace? And why do decades later people feel so strongly that something doesn't add up with the death of Bob Marley? So, think of it, he wasn't just a musician, was he? He was a revolutionary. He had a voice that could reach international nations. And his death, whether it was natural means or not, was convenient because he threatened those with his influence. And if he had lived, could he have become a global political figure like Nelson Mandela, or that, or God forbid, I know it's crazy, but Donald Trump? Could his message have sparked resistance movements in a developing world? We'll never know, and that's probably just the point that we think. But Marley once said that the people who are trying to make this world worse are not just taking a day off. Why should I? But in 1981, someone made sure that he did take a day off, sadly, for the rest of his life. So let me know what you think on the Bob Marley thing in that. Yeah, and obviously, I'd love to know your theories. Now, we enter a world of purple rain. One, Prince Rogers Nelson was a one-man revolutionary. He was basically he used to be a performer, producer, multi-instrumentalist, and he was fiercely independent. He challenged the music industry and pushed for his ownership rights long before it became a trend, like for most people nowadays to go, I want ownership of myself. But Prince also had a tendency to say what he felt and speak in riddles and warnings. And in 2015, he basically shocked fans around the world when he done an interview and he spoke about how the skies today were filled with chemtrails, and these chemtrails basically affected the moods, energy, and even sparked violence, claiming that they were being used to manipulate the black community. So this wasn't just some offhand remark, it was deliberate, basically. And when someone as high up as Prince in the music industry starts speaking about government cover-ups, it basically puts a bullseye on their back, doesn't it? Because some saw it as brave, like they did with Bob Marley, but then others saw it as dangerous. And then when Prince sadly passed away a year later, questions started swirling. So was it the silencing of a truth speaker or what? So basically, if you don't know, Prince was notoriously anti-pharmaceutical. He avoided prescription medicine and was known for his natural lifestyle and holistic health preferences. But after he passed away in 2016, reports claimed that he overdosed on fentanyl. If you don't know what fentanyl is, I'm going to show you now. It is fentanyl citrate, or fentanyl. And this is the thing that Prince is supposedly overdosed on. But basically, it's a member of a class of drugs, if you don't know, that alleviate pain without causing loss of consciousness, and it depresses your central nervous system and respiratory functions. But exposure to this drug is fatal. Right, remember that, everyone. That it depresses the central nervous system and respiratory function, and the exposure to this drug, exposure to it, may be fatal. Right, remember that, because this is where it's going to get crazy for you guys now. he supposedly never used fentanyl. That, and friends and collaborators question this narrative. Why would someone so opposed to the big pharmaceutical companies certainly depend on one of the deadliest synthetic opioids known today? Had he been drugged? Was it planted as evidence? And basically, um, that's where the world is questioning, because when he died, he was basically found dead in his elevator in his Paisley Park estate, and this detail struck a chord with fans like me because I'm a big Prince and fan, like I was a big Bob Marley fan, and in his song, I think it was "Let's Go Crazy," he warned, "Don't let the elevator bring us down." And if you know what Prince means by "Don't let the elevator bring us down," he basically meant that the elevator symbolized evil, depression, or even death. So was he saying, "Don't let anything like that bring us down"? Was it an eerie coincidence that he said that in a song? Or was it a clue that he knew that it was because those that knew him knew that it's deeply spiritual and aware of the symbolism in his own work? He believed in signs, warnings, hidden messages, and obviously there was another singer out there that done the same, Tupac Shakur. But basically, conspiracists said that his death in the elevator was not just tragic; it was ritualistic, a symbol of silencing wrapped in metaphor, because he used his own words, Prince's his own words against him, and that. So now we go back to when he spoke out about chemtrails. So remember that, right? All that about his passing. And when Prince spoke out about chemtrails, he wasn't just vague. He wasn't like, oh, chemtrails are just getting spread across the world, blah 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 blah. He was connecting them to mood swings, aggression in the community, mass behavioral control, and he wasn't alone because others had said the same thing, but none had his reach. Some that were saying it didn't have the voice, but when someone like Prince said it, some people stood up and listened. And he mentioned his concern in an interview that he done on a BET special, referencing how post-chemtrail anger seemed to erupt in his own neighbourhood. He said, "You see the planes," he said, "you don't see what they're spraying, but you feel it." That wasn't just commentary, it was like a declaration. And some believe that was the moment that he crossed the line of being an artist in Hollywood, not in Hollywood, but in LA and all that, that people would be listening to as an artist, and now people will be taking on as a liability because they were like, "Shit, he knows too much." So basically, he spent decades battling record labels for his rights to his master recordings. Obviously, he famously wrote "slave" on his face and changed his name to an unpronounceable symbol to protest industry control. He finally regained ownership of his masters just before he died, funny enough. And that too is a common thread in celebrity conspiracy deaths, that artists regain control of something that they won't learn for, like their catalogs, and then they die unexpectedly. But after his passing, his estate and catalog then became entangled in legal negotiations, and suddenly everything he had fought for to protect wasn't up for grabs again. So when Prince died, obviously, we all that the media quickly declared it as an accidental overdose, but the details were vague, basically, for this thing. Toxicology reports basically showed excessively or exceedingly high levels of fentanyl. Like I told you, fentanyl. But there was no record of him having a prescription for it. None. And to this day, none exist. And friends close to Prince even argued that he wouldn't knowingly take this drug, and security footage showed no suspicious entries or visitors. But there's conspiracy theorists out there. This is one of the things that I'm on the fence with. They say that sophisticated actors don't leave evidence. So was this all just a tragic accident or a cover story that was used to mask something darker? If you think about it, many of Prince's journals, recordings, and personal files were reportedly locked away in a vault. But then when his death happened, this vault was opened, and it's unclear to this day what was taken out of the vault and stashed away elsewhere, and what was given away, basically, of his estate. He had been working on memoirs, documentaries that promised to reveal secrets of the industry, and his own journey through spiritual and social society awakenings. But none of this material has surfaced since his death. It'll be 10 years next year, and nothing's materialized for Prince. So could these projects have contained a revelation so powerful that it made him a threat to certain people? So, obviously, like I said, Prince and Bob Marley are cultural icons and titans of their own right in their times. Both spoke out openly against the establishment. Both gained influence that transcended their music. Both died young, and that. Both were both were medically plausible, but was highly suspicious. In both cases, though, their deaths have led to consolidation of control of their image, their message, and most importantly, their own music. What couldn't be stopped while they were alive was contained now that they're dead. So whether it was the CIA, big pharmaceutical, or even shadowy industry file like elites, the question always remains, though, with these two: who benefits from their silence? Now, let's be clear. I'm not saying that for sure what these would happen. We do know that Bob died of cancer. Prince died of a fentanyl overdose. Those are the official reports. You can't change that. They're official. And no agency has even been formally implicated in either death. But when viewed through the lens of influence, threat, and suppression, patterns begin to emerge. Patterns that suggest that both artists were more than just musicians. They were disruptive influences of a system. And in that system, the systems of control, their disruptive influence won't last long. And it wouldn't tend to. So maybe it's just conspiracy, maybe it's just coincidence. Maybe it's a warning. Don't speak like if you speak too loudly, someone might come in and turn the volume down permanently on you. So if music is the voice of the soul, then maybe these men were murdered because the soul spoke too loudly and too purely. Maybe if you think about it in another way, whether you believe that Bob or Prince both were murdered or they were simply caught in a web of their own legend, one thing's clear: they made the world listen at their time of their independence, like, in their 70s and 80s, well, 70s and that. Bob Marley was Jamaica's voice, everything right. Prince was a voice of the black community with his chemtrail theory. So maybe that's what made them dangerous. They were leading voices. So this has been the Conspiracy Nexus episode 31. I've been your host, Paranormal Ripples. If this episode has obviously opened your eyes or given you a voice and then given you a thing, like it, share it with anyone you think would find this interesting. Subscribe and turn on the notification bell. And obviously leave a comment in the chat, in the comments. Let me know what you think of all this, whether it's bull, whether there's some truth, or whether you believe it 100%. Let me know. And I'll speak to you all again on Monday when I come back with another show. I'll be on with Haunted Hours on Monday. But tomorrow it will be a gaming live, so bear with me, everyone. Big love to you all. Take care. Have a good night, and make sure you like, subscribe, and turn that notification bell on. Bye bye, everyone.